If there's one thing for certain, it's that Harley Quinn sure doesn't need the Suicide Squad or the Joker to give audiences a hell of a good time at the theaters. Stick around and find out why Birds of Prey is one of the DCEU's best films to date.
James Bond. Cannonball! You like this all day.
Did you rub my lamp?
1,000 generations living in now. Here we go.
Hey, how's it going, everyone, and welcome to FilmSpeak, where film is our second language. I'm Griffin, as always, and if film is your second language, consider hitting that subscribe button for more insightful and articulate film discourse and analysis. Birds of Prey is directed by Cathy Yan, and it stars Margot Robbie, Jurnee Smollett-Bell, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Rosie Perez, and Ewan McGregor. After splitting with the Joker, Harley Quinn joined superheroes Black Canary, Huntress, and Renee Montoya to save a young girl from an evil crime lord, Black Mask, in Gotham City. If there is one word I can use to describe Birds of Prey, it is fun. This is a movie that is going to play phenomenally in a packed house. And listen, I'm as surprised as many of you probably are because none of the trailers really did anything for me. I wasn't really big on the concept to begin with, but this film is going to shut all the naysayers down. Harley Quinn is front and center in this movie, as she should be, and it's a frenetic, hyper-stylized Harley Quinn comic book come to life. There's a lot of flashy visuals, vibrant colors, and eccentricities that perfectly channel the very essence of who Harley Quinn is as a character. As opposed to something like Suicide Squad, all the style in this movie, for the most part, has a purpose. And none of it feels like it's taking away from the central conflict or narrative. It just feels as though we're inside the mind of our main character, and this is just her train of thought and how she views things. There's a lot of fourth wall breaking and witty comedy, and so the film I can most compare this to would be Deadpool. However, as opposed to a film like Deadpool, where the shtick, for me at least, got a little old, the writing, the comedy, and the style feel purposeful and fresh. In fact, that's one thing I gotta give Birds of Prey credit, is that it's an R-rated film through and through, but it doesn't beat you over the head with the fact that it's an R-rated film. Sure, there's some brutal fight scenes, expertly staged, there's a lot of F-bombs and even a few C-bombs thrown in there, but Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey are never making up absurd, vulgar phrases for the sake of saying absurd, vulgar phrases. It mainly just feels like Margot Robbie and Cathy Yan had a vision, and this is the product of that vision. But speaking of the action, there are some really exciting set pieces in this film. Nothing too crazy, but you can definitely tell that Chad Stahelski and some of the stunt people involved with the John Wick films had their hands on this movie. It was reported that Chad Stahelski came in and did some of the reshoots in order to perfect the action, and you can definitely tell. There's an amazingly kinetic and John Wickian fight sequence that happens during a prison break. That is a massive highlight in this film and shows some of the choreography at its finest. And so when you're watching Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey kick some major ass, everything feels tangible and authentic, which is quite a breath of fresh air for the DCEU, I might add, as a lot of their climactic battles tend to be a bit too over-reliant on CGI. But aside from that, the climactic fight scene that takes place inside a fun house is colorful, inventive, creative, and distinctly ranks among the DCEU's finest sequences. Similar to the John Wick films, they utilize the environment, each character has their own distinct fighting style, and each character gets a moment to shine and show off that particular fighting style. And what I liked even more so was that Cathy Yan really added some nice character moments and interactions in these fight sequences. There's going to be one that many people are talking about and will be cheering and saying, hell yeah, I can relate to that. But what I loved is that all of the interactions felt authentic to the characters and never felt like they were interrupting the action for the sake of throwing in a cheap joke. It just felt like a natural reaction that these characters would have. Birds of Prey is through and through a dark crime comedy, and so while there's a lot of fourth wall breaking and hints of the Deadpool quippiness and witty writing, There also was a dash of Tarantino thrown in there, particularly Pulp Fiction, with how it handled flashbacks, with how it was balancing different characters and their journeys, and how all of the journeys converged on one climactic set piece. I really found Cathy Yan to have a keen eye for assembling these pieces and for giving each character their time in the sun. Now, part of the issue here is that it does feel like a Harley Quinn movie competing against a Birds of Prey movie, but for the most part, I thought she balanced both halves pretty well. There are times when I think one film tends to take over more so than the other, but in the end, it all works, and it all works together to creating a fun atmosphere. And speaking of Tarantino, another element that really reminded me of Tarantino was Cathy Yan's focus and appetizing depiction of food. You're gonna be craving a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich walking out of this movie, because ultimately, this movie is about Harley Quinn getting her well-deserved and long-sought-after bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich. And the depiction of this with Harley Quinn's narration over top had me craving this sandwich just as much as Harley Quinn herself. But what about the story? Because one of the big issues with Suicide Squad was it had all these flashy and vibrant visuals, but there was nothing behind it to make them mean anything. And I can absolutely say that Birds of Prey delivers on a straightforward, compelling narrative that is enhanced by all of this style that's going on. Like I previously mentioned, the visuals really emphasize the inner workings of Harley Quinn's mind, and so a lot of this film is Harley Quinn dealing with her separation from the Joker. Ultimately, Birds of Prey is a breakup movie, and one of the thematic through lines that I found perfectly executed was this tackling of dependency and finding your own agency. At the beginning of this film, in a Looney Tunes-esque sequence, Harley Quinn recounts her past, and not just her past, but her past relationships and how she's kind of struggled with over-dependency throughout the course of her life. First it was her parents, then it was past boyfriends, and then most recently, it's the Joker. And the beautiful thing about it is Cathy Yan doesn't sugarcoat it. She shows that this has just been a part of who she is for so long, and overcoming this is going to be a bit of a challenge. But when she surrounds herself with the right people, it helps her come into her own. And the perfect thing about this is the people Harley surrounds herself with are people who are in a similar situation as her, and so they're able to relate and form a bond as a result of it. Black Canary feels like she's a captive to Black Mask and sees no other way out of it, as he's the one who's employed her and given her a job and is financing her as well. Huntress has an interesting story of being free from her past demons, and so while she's not necessarily overly reliant on someone, she is seeking emancipation like the rest of the characters in this film. Hell, even Ewan McGregor's Black Mask falls victim to this, and it's part of what fuels his anger and frustration. In fact, while the rest of the characters are trying to better themselves, Black Mask is the only one who is using that as a chip on his shoulder. He's got some serious daddy issues and is basically a small man with a god complex. And so Roman is just splashing around, throwing tantrums in order to prove that he is someone. And the best part about it is Ewan McGregor plays into it beautifully. Ewan McGregor stole the entire film from me. I could not get enough of his character and his interactions with every single person around him. I especially loved his interactions with Victor Zsasz. Their relationship was very interesting. But the beautiful thing about McGregor's performance is that he's hysterical, he's over the top, eccentric, just as you'd want this villain to be, and he is deliciously pathetic. I mean, this guy does some brutally violent and disturbing things due to his insecurities. Black Mask is treated to so many amazing lines and scenes. Ewan McGregor is electric, he lights up the screen, and for me personally, just might be the DCEU's best on-screen villain yet. But Ewan isn't the only one who gives an amazing performance. Margot Robbie is just unbelievably good in this role. I mean, yes, we all know that Margot Robbie is perfect as Harley Quinn, But she's given her own movie here where she can really come into her own and flesh out this character to the fullest. She's relatable, you understand how she got into the position that she's in, and you feel for her, you want her to overcome these difficulties and find her own voice, be her own person. And the best part about it is that Margot Robbie also knows how to bring the physical aspect to the character. She commands the screen in some amazing fight sequences, and I just want Margot Robbie to continue playing Harley Quinn for as long as she can, because I don't think there is another person out there who is as perfect for the role as she is. This is truly a film where she's able to let Harley Quinn's personality rise to new heights. Journey Smollett Bell is given a nice, compelling arc that beautifully complements Harley Quinn's and serves as a nice side story that ties into the central narrative. She's probably the character with the most transformative arc outside of Harley Quinn. As for Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Huntress, don't go in expecting a lot of her. She doesn't have the most screen time, but the scenes that she does have are amazing. She's very stone cold and badass, but that's just on the surface. When you see her alone in some of these more intimate moments, trying to figure out who she is as a person, it lends itself to some great comedic beats. And on top of that, this film has a bumping soundtrack that really enhances the visual spectacle that's going on, similar to Suicide Squad, but implemented far better here. Before giving my final verdict on Birds of Prey, guys, why don't you take a second here and like this video, share it with your friends if you feel so inclined, and subscribe to this channel for more insightful and articulate film discourse and analysis. Birds of Prey is simply a rockin', kick-ass good time. It's bursting with colors and charisma and is a fabulous funhouse of madness and mayhem. It features some of the DCEU's best conceived and choreographed action sequences, really utilizing the characters and the environment when taking into account what to show. At times, the style can be a bit too abrasive. In fact, I can see some people being a little off-put by it, and the pacing is a bit jolty as it jumps around from flashbacks and side narratives, and it does feel like it's balancing two movies, a Harley Quinn movie and a Birds of Prey movie, but as opposed to Suicide Squad, the narrative is linear, it goes forward, the characters are serviced beautifully, and this whole thing is brought home by the confident and sure-handed direction of Kathy Yan, who is a real find, a phenomenal talent who I can't wait to see make more films in the DCEU and outside the DCEU. And so for all of these reasons and the reasons I've mentioned throughout my review, I'm ultimately going to be giving Birds of Prey an 8 out of 10. And now I want to hear from you all. I want to know what the next Batman Gotham City based character you want to see get a movie is down in the comments section below. I'm talking characters like Red Hood, like Nightwing, maybe some villains like the Penguin or Mr. Freeze, who knows? I want to hear all about it down in the comments section below. And if you've seen Birds of Prey, be sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions on that film as well. As always, guys, you can like FilmSpeak on Facebook, follow us on Twitter simply by searching FilmSpeak. And lastly, if you like me specifically and you like what I have to say, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, that's going to do it for this review, guys, and I'll catch you next time. Take care.